How to stay positive when everything feels so negative, right? This might be true for you. Many of you guys might feel that a lot of the things that are happening, it's just incredibly overwhelming. And I don't disagree. I think there's a lot of things to be absolutely upset about, regardless of where your origin story lies and your cultural allegiances lie. I think there's something for everyone. Just pick from the buffet of aggro. What aggro do you want to choose today? And many of it, I think, are incredibly reasonable things to be uh, pretty outspoken and wildly upset about. Honestly, I think there's plenty of things, lots of injustices, and you don't need me to remind you. I'm sure you are listening to your preferred YouTuber news outlet. They're probably telling you what you should be mad about, and some of it's very justified. I know I feel that way, but man, what do you do with this all this energy of feeling so upset? And I don't disagree with, like there are just some things that bother me tremendously. I don't think that many of them are that controversial either, but yet somebody will find something to be upset about within even what I have to say. So I'm going to kind of focus on how I usually feel about this stuff. So obviously, I like to try to be more positive. And I think that whenever I am more quote unquote negative, it's almost always in the confinement of people I care about, rather than, just the internet. Not because most of you who are listening to me right now are bad faith. In fact, I think right now I am very lucky that the vast majority of people who listen and watch my YouTubes are in good faith with whatever they might disagree with or what they might agree with. And that's been awesome. And the ones that are usually pretty bad faith, yeah, they turn me off, and I usually ignore them anyway. And so when you interfere or interference with people you know personally, at least that personal attachment allows you to kind of vent and let these frustrations and aggressions that you might have out somewhere. And if you have somebody who has some disagreeable positions, it's actually a good kind of opportunity to challenge that. I think, again, within a good faith environment, because it allows you to at least have the one part that really frustrates me the most whenever I do like online disagreements and arguments. The one thing that at least I have, for the most part, with people I care about is the good faith aspect of it. That they might feel this way, but they're not trying to sell me nothing. They just feel this way. And I might disagree with it, and we will get into it. We will discuss it. And so for me, I think what I'm going to do is none of that here. I'm not going to start a conversation about things that bother me, unless it really is relevant to the artistic world. I think, like, especially for, like, speaking of AI, this is one of those things that I've spoken about multiple times, and honestly probably will continue to speak against. But for now, again, there's just we're chilling. We're chilling on AI. Let's move on. So being more positive when there's so many things that are negative in the world, how does one do this? Well, I like to think of like everything just as a kind of a framing strategy. Like, how do you frame the situation in your mind? So if you look at all of the negative things that go on in our world, and you basically approach it as there's no real resolution, then I feel like that's incredibly nihilistic. I like to think of what is the potential outcome from all this negativity. What have we seen historically and empirically that can happen? And be as realistic as humanly possible with the circumstances. And I will kind of lay this out philosophically here for you guys, but then I will use artistic examples because, again, those are less heavy and less controversial, but they're still dissenting opinion that I am happy to hear. But philosophically, it's like, okay, have there ever been moments where there can be recovery from these situations? And if there is, what is usually the consequence? And are you prepared for those consequences? This is usually how I think about these unfortunate negative instances. So for instance, if I see, and this is me using the artistic endeavor, if I see my industry collapsing in front of my eyes, which many people would probably agree, the question is this the first time? Is this the only time? Is there any analogous examples that I can look at that can give me some insight on how I should react and what I should do next? And luckily for us, within our game industry, there are already examples of, like, there was a boom and bust within the video game industry many, many moons ago. And yet we came out of it. We came out of it okay. Was there a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of job opportunities lost? 100%. Was it tragic? Yes. There was some analogous stuff like the tech boom of the .com era. That was another great example, you know? And so what tends to happen during these moments? Well, a lot of things happen, which is the markets tend to shift, society tends to adapt, and things start to essentially kind of find equilibrium at some point. And so for me, it's like, okay, what is the consequence then of this quote unquote crash that we might be experiencing now? Like, what should I be looking forward to? And here's my best guess, just to kind of give you guys how I'm looking at this negative instance in our business and how I'm essentially navigating it. So, and I'm going to do a bigger video about the political ramifications that are causing this, but I don't want to do that in this video. I'm trying to get out of here as quickly as possible so I can get to some work that I still need to do. But I don't want to get the day away from me again while I'm still feeling ripe, dude. I'm feeling way better today. So the tariffs. What are the tariffs doing here in the States for those of you who are my American colleagues? Well, they're going to be affecting most trade goods that are especially goods that are trade on, like, you know, a manufacturing level, like something that's like actually good goods, you know, something that is hard goods, something you can hold in your hand, right? So what that tells me is similar to kind of what happened during the pandemic, where a lot of the physical attributes and sales of things was kind of hemorrhaged by the lockdown, which is another good analogous situation that we can look to. Maybe not 100% analogous because this is self-inflicted in a lot of ways, and it's kind of unfortunate. But the result that I got from that was, you know, when people don't have access to as many things, whether that's because the cost of things goes up remarkably high for no good reason, and you just are like, okay, I have only so much money. What can I spend it on? You know? That's going to be all of us. A lot of us are going to feel this way. Most digital goods tend to find their way to succeed in these types of moments. For most of you who listen to what I do, digital goods is kind of the business we're in, whether that's video content, whether that's movies, that's TV shows, video games, of course. I think these types of goods will be in high demand, because I believe that when people are also feeling lost in their life, and they feel like there's a lot of stuff that's going on, they're going to find outlets. So I think like physical activities, like going out and doing stuff, will be approached yet again. in mass. But I also believe that kind of this kind of moment where everything will be expensive, people will try to find inexpensive things to do that are not only on digital but on the outside to go out and do real life shit. I believe that this is part of what's going to happen. So I think like co-op experiences, both digital and physical, will be highly sought after. This is just my hunch. Um, a game like Split Fiction just came out, I think even before the tariffs, but did extraordinarily well because I believe that this has already been the case for a while, post pandemic. And I think that people are absolutely getting exhausted with this inauthentic internet that we're all embodying and we are just tired of. Like, this is why I think my YouTube channel is doing better than it actually has ever done in the past for my long form content, which is my preferred content. I'm so happy. I prefer just sitting and talking. I don't want to be like, this video was brought to you by, and then like talk about a sponsor for X amount of minutes if there's no good reason to. I am not throwing shade to my peers who do this. This is me speaking. This is Anthony Jones speaking to what I care about. I have not done this in any meaningful capacity very often because I personally didn't want to build my YouTube channel that way. I remember when I used to do little videos in the past, I would always be like, this video is sponsored by Patience. It was like, it had nothing to do with any real sponsor, but I would like pretend that the sponsor was some sort of characteristic that you ought to sharpen, which is fun. And I probably should bring that back because it is kind of fun to do that. And and I think the tariffs and commercial goods being highly expensive, the world's getting closer. People are starting to look at other nations that they might have never looked at before in a different light because they're almost forced to. I've traveled the world. I've seen lots of different cultures and societies with some respect. And I could tell you that like the world is filled with incredible people and we're all just out here trying to survive. And when things don't look awesome and don't feel great and like there's a lot of negativity, people are always trying to find something to help them relieve the stress or find some savior to help them with their specific challenges. And I like to try to encourage people that there are no saviors. You know, there's only opportunities to be happy. Somebody wrote in my comments when I sent the video about how there's a story of a fisherman that I want to be more like that fisherman. And they said something along the lines of like, just remember what that fisherman means. Like what to you defines you've reached the fisherman stage, essentially is kind of what they were getting at. And I was like, yeah, fuck. That's incredibly true. I have to make sure I have set the goalpost that I can see it for myself. Because I might have an imaginary idea of where that is, and it's too abstract to act on. And I feel like a lot of people's desperations and sadness and anxieties of all the things that are going wrong in their life remain abstract. So abstract solutions tend to be a potential out. But like I said, there's only opportunities for happiness. So if you find yourself, hey, you know, my buddies invited me to go out to hang out with them, and I don't feel like it. I feel tired because of how exhaustively negative I've been. Then maybe you should just go because of how exhausted you are. It reminds me of a story. we were at a pool, me and my close friends, and we were just chatting and stuff. And me and my other friend, we were swimming, and one of my other friends was outside of the pool. And we were swimming, the two of us, and the third friend was just hanging outside of the pool. It was a hot day, and he was just like, oh, man, I feel so, like, grumpy, man. And I was like, dude, like, how you feeling grumpy? We're hanging out. So, man, I just feel, like, hot and bothered and sweaty. And we're like, well, you're not swimming. We're swimming because we also felt hot and bothered, and you're just sitting there watching us swim. And he was like, oh, shoot. Yeah, maybe you're right. And so he didn't have swimming clothes. So I think he just went in his boxer briefs and just jumped in. And bro, immediately felt better. He was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And we were just all laughing. It was like, yeah, who would have thought being like hot and bothered, like jumping in some cold water would help you out a little bit. And we were just all cracking up. But it's like when you're living in that moment of just being upset, it's hard to find the solutions, right? And sometimes the solutions are presented to you right to your face, and you still ignore them. That's why I'm saying, like, acknowledge negativity by absolving it through positivity, right? Try to solve your negative through some positive reinforcement. There's one of my favorite activists, Martin Luther King. One of the things I liked about this guy, for those of you who don't know, he was a civil rights activist in America. He helped a lot of black folks get a lot of rights. One of the things that I loved about his method of activism, he really felt that there needed to be change. And we remember him for a lot of his amazing and incredible speeches. And I think they are truly incredible. And we're seeing a lot of that now. We're seeing a lot of incredible speeches from people that are trying to make meaningful, good faith changes in this world. Very inspirational, very motivational. And the thing that he did that I think is admired, and I'm starting to see a glimpse of it, at least in the activist world. And if I ever felt that I wanted to go political, this is how I would do it. I would approach it the way that he did it, because it absolutely works. It is hard, like many things worth having, but it worked, which was act. He would say a lot of amazing things. He would tell people about all the things that we ought to have. But at the end of the day, the thing that he did was stuff. Like, he said, hey, look, let's stop riding the bus, y'all, for as long as it takes until they start listening to us. Until they start respecting us and our impact on using public transport. And they did this for like nearly a year. People would just walk everywhere. And more people stopped taking the bus. And more people basically stopped paying into the system. And as a result of lower capital, they had to act. The powers that be. And he was very good at talking to people to have them act and also walk those words, And so whenever I tell you guys, you should be consistent in terms of art, this is the same way I feel about myself. I feel like I have to be consistent. Me and my buddy are working on this game, and it's been nearly 2 years. I think it's been 2 years on the dot now. And we've made so many changes because we've learned so much about ourselves as designers. Making video games is incredibly hard. Even with all my experience, I already knew this is one of those things that until you start doing it for yourself, outside of like a larger team, you're going to not learn what it really means to do it all the way through as an individual. Or a small team, rather. And right now, my goal is very clear. We just got to show up, have meetings consistently. And we've been having meetings pretty consistently for this entire time. And it has truly been the saving grace of our partnership. Because there have been times where, like I've told you guys, I've been really down. But I know this investment will pay off in the long term. Will it pay off with this specific project? I honestly do not know. It may very well not. But I will learn a lot along with my teammate to know what we can probably have done differently and try to attempt that next time. that time spent learning about how to do this is not wasted. And so to me, whenever I look at all the things that go on in my life and all the challenges, I always try to remember what are the ways that I can to activate, be an activist within my own regard to the things that I want to accomplish. You know? And being positive is all I really know how to do. And it has worked for me through some of my hardest times in my entire life. And I see so many people online, some close friends of mine, I actually would message them sometimes directly. I had a buddy a few months ago, was very, very vocally political. And I agree with a lot of their politics. But I could tell like they were just not in a good spot. Because eventually I think like a week of doing that, you could just start to see their posts becoming way more distraught. And they even like in another post was like, I'm feeling sad. Like they were just kind of feeling depressed. And I messaged him. I was like, look, man, like you're fighting a good fight. I agree with a lot of what you're trying to get across here. But just like how I talked about taking rest, you have to absolutely find some times to recenter yourself if there's opportunities to. Many of us have opportunities to recenter ourselves. Some people who might be listening to this video, I know for a fact you cannot. Because you are going through some real shit. And I want you to know that I hear you and I understand. But just like I said earlier, all of time we have as a species, we can look to the moments of great tragedy and great torment and see that there were moments where people did find resolution. And some of these people were some of the more optimistic of us all, because these are the kinds of people that make some of the best leaders. The people who are incredibly nihilistic, people who are incredibly like, look how awful everything is and look who is to blame, I think have a good batting average of being some of the worst among us, even if they started with the best intentions. I think we can all understand and respect this, you know? Because hope can only be derived from optimism. So it makes perfect sense that the people that end up saving a lot of us in these really harsh times are the kinds of people who could find that optimism. And again, they are finding opportunities of happiness. What they're not doing is reminding us of our sadness, you know? There's a lot of things, guys, to be really frustrated with. I am with y'all, truly. And I am like, God damn it, dude. What is going on? But I get messages from people from all around the world that some of these things that I think are affecting me pretty deeply aren't affecting them nearly as much. Just as much as there are people that are going through stuff that don't affect me at all, but are affecting them greatly. You know, the reverse is true. There's going to be people that look at my circumstance and don't have it. They're in a much more better place. And some of these people reach out to me. Some of these people are very grateful and are so much happier and more motivated to try to make art now that I've been out here. They've been encouraging this kind of content. And I might not reach the levels of like something like Mr. Beast, like these large numbers. It doesn't make sense because I'm not trying to make like candy-like content that has just mass appeal. I am just trying to have human content that should have appeal to people's, you know, ambitions and morals and personal strifes, you know? And not everybody needs to hear me. Like a lot of people are absolutely content with what they got. And some people are incredibly in dire situations and this type of optimism to them is just incredibly naive. And it's all valid. But I can't be what I can't be, and I'm not a nihilist by heart. It aggravates me to feel negative. Like I get super like, what the fuck, you know? And I start to uh, try to shapeshift that as soon as possible. And whenever I do get in heated discussions and debates, it's usually with people I believe that are in good faith. I have nothing against a good old debate, but I want to believe that the person I'm talking to has an ounce of opportunity to change their mind. Or if they're going to change mine, like I said, do it in good faith. So I've actually become wiser. I don't mind that. In fact, lately, whenever I would get into a dispute with somebody, and I start to realize that they might not be as good as faith as I thought they were, and I'd like them, and I like them as a person, I just will point blank ask, are you willing to even consider that you're wrong or change your opinion on this? And sometimes they just straight up tell me no. And I said, okay, we'll leave it be then. Truly. You know? Because if they were to tell me, like, are you willing to be wrong? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I actually have no interest in being wrong on things. Maybe like subjective things, like what's a better movie? Like, I don't mind being like cheekishly wrong about stuff like that, like tastes. But in terms of like, you know, some political stances, like there are some stuff that I do want to have a good stance on. I want to have a good understanding the hell I'm talking about. No more than just because I want to make sure that I'm morally consistent with what I believe is true and what I believe is right. For that alone, for that specific purpose alone, I want to make sure that I'm morally consistent. But yeah, that's just not who I am, is to stay negative. And so I wanted to put this video together to kind of talk about that. Like talk about, maybe I could reach some of you guys who are feeling it, because I know I'm feeling it. So if I'm feeling this, oh dude, for sure these, there for sure gonna be other people feeling it and are unsure. And they're just like trying to draw and they're trying to live their life. And they're unsure, you know, how to feel about some of these things. They're unsure about, you know, whether they're going crazy or not, or like listening to me and I'm trying to be very positive, and they're just like, how can this be possible though? Like, is there really nothing going on in the world? Like, am I just tripping? And I just want to say, no, I believe that there are absolutely things going on in the world that are worth being really, really upset about. And I am actually not even encouraging you to stop being upset. I think it's okay. But just know it's still not good for our health. And some of these conflicts and these fights are worth fighting, but we still got to take a rest day, you know? The fact that I had like a 36-hour rest day essentially in the last few days, because I pretty much got like knocked the hell out with my sickness, really allowed me to, you know, just get my life in order, get proper rest, because I was definitely feeling overworked. And then just kind of paying attention to global politics was just really, really aggravating. I was talking to my buddy today about how one of the days, that day that I was like passed out, I was just laying on my bed. I was just telling him how I was listening to some like political stuff, and then I thought I heard something that was fucking outrageous. And I was like, I'm almost certain I'm just having a fever dream right now, and that they did not say what I think they said. And then as soon as I woke up, as soon as I was like up and at 'em that day, I like looked it up. I was like, did this actually happen, or am I fucking nuts? And it didn't happen, so I was just like, okay, so I was definitely going nuts. Don't worry, there was a lot of other crazy stuff I can't believe was going on, but this one thing that I thought I heard was just a truly was a fever dream. So there you go. Like I was hallucinating, and I was like losing my mind, and it was just not a good place to be, just to be frank. So yeah, I would highly encourage you guys to always try to respect what is going on and to try to stay as positive as possible. And if you do want to act on your feelings about what's going on and you want to make a difference to the things that you think ought to be handled in some meaningful way, just remember, I still believe some of the strongest leaders that we've had and some of the strongest minds and some of the greatest people who have changed our life in this on this earth as a species tend to have some of the more positive perspectives, have some optimism to hope for. That's how they were able to get many of these things accomplished. And you and me and anyone else that follows this can potentially be that. So anyway, this has been fun. I've been painting these like super hard brush paintings. Yeah, it's really hard to do. And I've been doing it lately because I've been super, like I said, stressed out with just like all the stuff that I had to worry about. And then just the idea of like whatever I do for work, I always try to do it. I try to do something completely different. So that way I'm always like challenging myself. And this is one of those things, like just hard brush painting. Just good old fashioned hard brush painting. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this painting and this hangout session yet again. It's like art therapy sessions. I like the art therapy title. I think I'm going to reserve that just for myself, though. It's just going to be me talking about what I'm going through, and you guys are happy to indulge in that. I think what's wonderful about that is that it reveals that some of your quote unquote master artists that many of you guys claim that I might be have some real shit that they're going through too, you know. And talking it through is nice because it makes it relatable, absolutely, and it's just good for me too. It's a good topic to have if I don't have anything like this to talk about, like something that's like more forward thinking and optimistic in nature. Oh my gosh, sorry for that sound burst. I like scooted back at the same time as I said, and I was trying to like emphasize the and it just blew up the mic. I apologize for that. I think it's like literally I compressed my own diaphragm. Anyway, yeah, appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video. Oh my god, why is my audio just blasting this whole time? I just saw it go all the way to red again. Oh my gosh, have I been doing that to you guys this whole time? Holy shoot. Anyway, appreciate you guys. See you guys in my next video.